into Nuke once more, but we're doing it with an advanced view on it. Because as I said in the basic video, when you play Nuke, I would argue you are having a tough time understanding all these different rotations and everything you need to control on such a complicated map as Nuke. So let's dive into this advanced video where you'll learn a lot more about how you position yourself on the CT side. Alright, so we have already established the 5 different positions, the 5 different areas you need to control. I would argue, as I said in my beginner video, my basic video, that the ramp position is one of the most important ones on Nuke. All of them are, of course, important, but without a good ramp player, you can't win. Normally what you get is that a player from under heaven will throw a smoke for you in the beginning of the round, and that allows you to take whatever position you want to on ramp to begin with. Whether that's holding the smoke, maybe playing behind the smoke, you can do whatever you want. You just have to be a bit careful now that we're playing Counter-Strike 2 that they can nade the smoke and push through it, so you're a little bit more exposed than you normally would be. Now usually what happens is that no one will come through the smoke. You then have your own smoke, you can put that down as well, and no one will come through that smoke either. At that point, it's just a waiting game. It's a bit boring, you know. The first 20, 25, maybe even 50 seconds, not a lot of stuff is happening for you in ramp. But when shit gets down to push, when you are being put under the pressure, you need to have a cool idea of when to fight and when to leave it. Now, if you're playing this position right here, it's a good one where you can hold a headshot angle, sort of like this. Or if you're playing down here where you're holding the off angle, you can always try to kill the first guy. Take the duel, fall back, and if you see 1 or 2 guys, you know you're not supposed to fight. If they're coming out 1 guy, you get the first kill. Maybe you can stick around for the second kill, and if you don't see anything else, well, you got a kill and you now have control over ramp. However, as I said, if you see the first guy, you're not getting a kill, and you saw the second guy and maybe even heard the third guy, your finest job is to fall back to make sure you obtain control of the ramp area. The thing is, the T players can't plant the bomb on ramp, and people forget that, right? You can't do anything with ramp as a T unless you force the CT side to rotate. So you standing right here and holding this position, or you hiding down here while your door player is coming down and baiting for you, or you going into dark and playing this off angle, or whatever that may be, right? You're just gonna be super annoying to the T players if they want to go lower. However, if you die, at that point they can just rush down lower, smoke off everything down here, and just get a free bomb site, right? So it's so important for you that you stay alive and you don't overcommit when you're playing ramp. So again, call for backup if you need it. If you spot 1 or 2 more players coming at you, if you get the first kill, cool. If you're feeling comfortable, then go for the second kill. But if you're having one of those games where you're not hitting everything and you see 2 or 3 guys coming at you, just put your tail behind your legs, go down lower, and make sure you're doing the right thing. I've seen way too many pro players as well mess up time and time again, basically lose the games for the teams because they want to fight and get kills. That is not your role when you're playing ramp. However, when you're going down lower, it puts a little bit of pressure on the heaven rotation guy, and he needs to be aware, right? You need to communicate. The out ramp, they have ramp, they can be lower. At this point, the heaven guy will have to hold heaven like this, or make sure that they're not coming under heaven by then killing the yard guy or by then splitting inside. So his position and his role changes a little bit, which is why it's super important for the ramp player to communicate that he saw 3 players or he saw 4 players coming out ramp. Because what he can also do is that if he saw 4 players coming out ramp, well, the yard player now knows that there can only be 1 guy yard, and the 2 inside players, player number 3 and player number 4, now is aware that there can only be 1 guy inside lobby. So why don't you counter push the T side? Why don't you take space away from them? If the ramp player is saying, hey, listen, there's 3 or 4 guys outside ramp, well, the hot guy can walk in hot. Maybe he's facing 1 player, but at the same time, the door player is coming in door, or both player number 4 and player number 3 are both walking in hot, and all of a sudden they're taking map control away from the T side. So now they control lobby, and all of a sudden now the CT side is aware that they can only be ramp, which means they can go under heaven, or they can go lower, which makes it easier for the yard player or makes it easier for the rotation player. So it's a battle for information. It's a battle of rotations. It's a battle of movement all the time. That is why Nuke is so complicated, and that's why it's important the ramp player is communicating. So this is a play that you can do proactively when you're the 2 inside players. Push in lobby and regain control, regain information. Player number 4 playing door can also decide to say, okay, there are 4 guys out ramp and the ramp player is yelling, they're rushing lower, they're rushing lower. Well, at that point, this guy will have to drop down and be as fast as absolutely possible to go down here and provide assistance. If he can hold right side ramp, well, that's very valuable information for your teammate who's maybe standing down here. He's holding right here. All of a sudden he says, I got right side for you. Well, all you have to do now is focus on the left. Trust your teammate. So this constant rotation that is going on Nuke, the constant information, all of the time changes how you're approaching the map, how you're holding your angles, and where you position yourself. So it's mega important. That's another rotation right there. Now, let's say that the opposite is happening. Let's say that the yard player is being put under a lot of pressure. It could be the classic wall of smoke in yard. So the yard player is being smoked off, which means that at this point, your AWP player have no control or no vision, no idea whether they're down secret or not. He says, I'm smoked off yard. Watch out, they can be secret. Again, the rotation player inside will then have to make a decision. Okay, do we believe that there are 3 guys or 4 guys pushing down secret right now? Well, if so, you can make the decision to either push lobby, as I showed before, regain control, or you instantly drop down lower and you hold this position. You can do do it from this angle, but I'm gonna show you probably the best trick on Nuke. Playing the position down here. If you can get all the way down here, it allows you to see their heads before they see you. Now imagine you're the T player, you're coming down here. What you're doing is you're clearing this angle, you're clearing this angle, you're clearing this angle. You don't see anything right here. The next thing you're gonna clear is this angle, right? But when you're standing right here, your head is exposed to this guy. So if you're playing this position right here, more often than not, you have 1 or 2 bullets, maybe 3 if you're lucky, free, right? You can just kill the guy, or at least get a headshot in before you then reposition, and you get the information, because he's not gonna be looking at you. So you obtain control, and you get the chance of getting a kill, and then you can always fall back, hold this angle, fall all the way up here, hold this angle, or even jump out the window and reposition yourself to make it even harder for the T players. So playing the door position, you are constantly communicating with your inside player, whether you want to push lobby, regain control, whether you're going out yard, you want to spam the smokes, or if you're making the rotation down the vents. That's why I said, if you're this player, you need a great understanding of the game, and you need your aim, because in some scenarios, you will be surprised that the opponents are in your face, and at that point, you just gotta aim your way out of the issues. So I would argue that those are the most important rotation patterns to understand: when to take lobby control as a CT side, when to fall down ramp when you're the ramp player, or if you're the yard player, when to fight and when to give information as to whether or not they can be down secret. At the end of the day, if you're the yard player, all you have to inform your inside mates of is whether or not they can come inside main. Because if you leave this area open, then you're vulnerable and you're exposed to an inside split. So if you're a yard player, I would argue that holding a position like this, that can work. Standing all the way up here in CT spawn, holding this position, holding this arm angle, that can work. That's a fine position to play as a yard player, as long as you tell your teammates that secret is open, yard is open, but they can't come main, right? So you're constantly making these different decisions where you have to leave something open, but if you leave something open and you don't tell your teammate, they have no chance of making the correct decision of the correct rotation, which is why communication on a map like Nuke is essential. No comms, no wins. It's that simple. I hope you're now smarter, and I hope you're now better suited to handle playing Nuke at a higher level. Make sure to